In today's show, the Blazers come all the way back, but still lose late to the Bulls. Talk about what went right, what went wrong in the closing seconds. Plus, talk about Scoot Henderson, the long-term outlook for a struggling youngster. Welcome to Locked On Blazers. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Trailblazers, your daily Portland Trailblazers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, world? It's your past first point guard and Trailblazers reporter, Mike Richmond. You're listening to another episode of Locked On Blazers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, available wherever you get podcasts and also on YouTube. Thanks for making this show your first listen. Coming at you each and every weekday, Monday through Friday, so make it a part of your daily routine. Make it your first listen. Tell your friends to do the same. As Locked On Blazers, your team every day. In today's show, we are going to talk about the Blazers' loss to the Bulls, a game where they were out of it, came roaring back and had a lead in the final 2.5 minutes, and then let it slip away in the closing 100 seconds of this one. Talk about that. Talk about what went into the comeback and maybe some things that went wrong in that final minutes, plus some other odds and ends. And then I want to talk to close the show about Scoot Henderson and the B word, not the bad one because this is a family show, but I have seen on the internet it bandied about. There's a B word for you. It bandied about that Scoot Henderson is a bust. And I want to talk about that. I want to put the tiger on the table and yell at it. That's what we're going to do in the third segment. First, let's do what we do here. Fastest recap in the West. Blazers lose 110-107. Bulls led 29-27 after one. They led by 5, 54-49 at the break. In that second quarter, in the first half, Matisse Thybulle, who had missed the game against the Pelicans with a right ankle soreness, was listed as questionable heading into this game, plays 5 minutes and leaves and does not return, which stinks. They were ruled out with an ankle injury, re-aggravated the same thing. Stinks. No Jeremy Grant still in this one, but the Blazers went back to an old familiar starting lineup with Anfernee Simons, Scoot Henderson, along with Toumani Camara, Chris Murray, and DeAndre Ayton. But so down 5 at halftime. That's who was in the game. Down 5 at halftime. I thought the third quarter, that was it. I thought they were going to have to, in the mortal words of House of Pain, I thought they were going to have to pack it up, pack it in. They're down 14 after 3. The Blazers were 3 of 17 from beyond the arc. They had just gone 1 of 7 in the third quarter. Like, they're just shooting bricks, just brick city. And the Bulls were 10 of 25 through 3 quarters from 3, and they had hit 6 threes in the third quarter. And it's like, yeah, they're going to lose. like this, that's it. Like, they're going to lose this game. And then the Blazers rip off a 30-13 run to open the fourth quarter. Anfernee Simons hits a 3 to give the Blazers their first lead of the second half, 103-102 with 3:30 left. Then DeAndre Ayton gets fouled, hits a couple free throws, and gives the Blazers a 105-102 lead with 2:35 left. The Blazers from down as many as 16 to up 3 with 2:35 to go. A 30-13 spurt to open the fourth quarter. Just a dominant showing. They hit 5 of their first 7 threes in the fourth quarter. I thought this thing was cooked. And then all of a sudden, in the opening 9.5 minutes of the fourth quarter, they hit 5 threes. They'd hit 3 all game coming into that one, coming into those moments. Huge start to the fourth quarter. But the Bulls responded. DeMar DeRozan gets an and one when the Blazers kind of they had been hunting Anfernee Simons, so the Blazers were doing their best to not let Anfernee Simons get in the pick and roll, and DeMar DeRozan knew that, took advantage, gets to the rim, gets fouled by Delano Banton because the help isn't there, because the help is worried about preventing Ant from getting the switch. In that situation, just switch and double. They've been doubling a lot in this game, and it had been working out great. But in that specific situation, you're better off. If you're scared, say you're scared. Either switch early and not like it was like a communication switch by the team. Certainly not the coaches calling it live. DDR, your boy DeMar, gets into the paint, gets fouled, and one. He makes his free throw, and all of a sudden we're tied. Then the Blazers come down, and Delano Banton probably got hacked. he got hacked pretty bad coming across the lane, and the Bulls get a run outs and Alex Caruso gets a fast break. I don't think every time it's fouled him, probably intentionally. I think Jabari Walker was going to chase him down and make it harder. I think Ant didn't have to foul in that situation, but he does. Caruso splits the free throws, and now all of a sudden the Bulls are back up 1 with 49 seconds left. It was a short-lived lead for the Blazers. You immediately give up an and one bucket and on the possession right after to have it tied, and then you don't score, and the Bulls get a couple free throws. So the Blazers now get the ball back with like 50 seconds left. And they're going to go for a 2-for-1. This is like the correct math to go for here. You want to have 2 possessions. You're down 1. No matter what, you want to make sure that the Bulls, that you're going to get the ball back. So you want to shoot with, in the old Terry Stotts days, he would flash up 33. So like in that range, 35 to 32 seconds, you're going to want to take a shot. The Blazers just kind of let Anthony Simons cook on an island to go get the shot. Everyone in the gym knew he was going to shoot. Everyone in the gym knew he was going to shoot like at about the 35-second mark. The Blazers are playing a big lineup with Delano Banton, Jabari Walker, Duop Reith, and DeAndre Ayton on the court. And if you go back and watch that possession, I can't pull up clips on the YouTube video. It's the audio platform. Many of you listening on audio, but for YouTube, I can't pull up clips for, I apologize, but for copyright purposes. But go back and watch that possession if you're capable of it. It's available on the NBA box score. They're just not. They're not guarding Jabari Walker in the weak side corner. They are way the hell off of Delano Banton at the wing. They're double teaming DeAndre Ayton in the post, and Ayo Dosunmu is just kind of shaded towards in the strong side corner, shaded towards Duop Reith. It's going to be Ant on his own against Alex Caruso, and then Torrey Craig comes with late help, and he takes a really hard 3-pointer. I'll talk about that more in the second segment, but seems very challenging. If I could say like, hey, I bet Ant's going to shoot it. I bet Alex Caruso, one of the best defenders in the game, also had a good sense that Anthony Simons was going to shoot it. I bet Billy Donovan over on the Bulls sideline had a pretty good sense he was going to shoot it. I bet a lot of folks in the gym knew what was about to happen, and Ant had to take a tough one. It takes a really challenging one, but he gets the 2-for-1. He misses with about 35 seconds left, 34.1. It clangs off the rim. So it's only a 1-point game. The Blazers don't need to foul. They just need to get a stop. They were worried again about DeMar DeRozan hunting Anthony Simons. Instead, DeMar DeRozan gets another switch that he likes. This time he brings Vucevic up into the pick and roll and gets a switch with DeAndre Ayton. He kind of pump fakes and then realizes that DA didn't, he's like, I'm not going to take a 17-footer. He leans under and just kicks it inside to Vucevic, who's got Jabari Walker sealed, and Vooch just turns. Buckets, Bulls by 3. The Bulls choose to foul at the end of this game. The Blazers are out of timeouts. I think intentionally fouling with more than 6 seconds left, I don't love, unless the team's out of timeouts. Blazers are out of timeouts. It's okay to foul. In that situation, they do. Anthony Simons hits free throws. The Blazers come back and they foul DeMar DeRozan. It's back to a 3-point game with 6 seconds left. They can't call timeout, so they got to push. They actually get a really good run out to begin with. They throw the ball ahead to DA. He gets it back to Ants at about half court, so he's gets a little bit of pace heading into the front court, and he goes up to shoot a 3, and Alex Caruso makes a great play, strips him that's a block the way they do it in the scorebook, but like a strip on the way up. Great defense. Blazers get it back. Again, no timeout, have to come out of bounds, and Ant gets himself free to the top of the key with a bunch of defensive attention. He got the shot off, or at least in the box score, they're calling it that the shot was good. I thought it was late, but regardless, it rims just out, and the Blazers lose 110-107. That's your fastest recap in the West. A classic fastest recap that took 8.5 minutes. I'm back, baby! I'm back. Fastest recap, 8.5 minutes. I thought Ant was pretty darn good in this game. The stats were better. I thought he was better in this game than he was against the Pelicans. Stats say otherwise. He finished with 30 points and 9 assists. Scoot Henderson, 14 in his start to go with 5 boards. He did turn the ball over 6 times. We'll talk about him a bunch close show. 25 and 15 for DeAndre Ayton. He's in a groove right now, and they've figured out how to get him going on offense. Chris Murray had 10. Jabari Walker, welcome back, 3 points. Delano Banton had 11 off the bench, and Duop Reith, I thought Duop was like unplayable in the. I would not have gone back to him. They have to go back to him because they don't have size, and the Bulls always play big. But I thought he was so bad in the first 3 quarters. I was like, oh no. More Duop, and then he was great down the stretch. He was great. He was excellent. He was excellent down the stretch. Maybe I'm not an NBA coach. Maybe I'm just some doofus. On the other side, DeMar DeRozan had 28. He's just really good when it matters. Vucevic, 22 and 9, 23 and 10 points for Ayo Dosunmu. And the Bulls got a little bit from Andre Drummond, 9 points, 11 boards in less than 14 minutes. Dude is just a legend in the box score. Let's talk about those closing minutes. Let's talk about Damian Lillard, who was in attendance. Let's talk Let's talk about those sort of closing second decisions in the second segment. First, let's talk about close. That's right. You know that outfit that makes you feel so darn good because you look so darn good, that instant confidence boost? That's what you can get with Stitch Fix. You can easily upgrade your wardrobe with a professional stylist that helps you find on-trend favorites that will work for you. You just give them your style, your size, your budget, and then you order boxes when you want them, how you want them. There's no subscription required. And then your stylist is going to send you 5 just for you pieces, plus outfit recommendations and styling advice. You keep what works and send back the rest. They're going to learn your preferences the more you use Stitch Fix, so they're going to just find what you like, and they're going to send you more and more stuff that you love. But if you don't love it, they always make it easy to return it. It comes in a box. The box has a bag in it. You put the clothes back in the bag and you send it back. If you don't love something, shipping, returns, and exchanges are always free. Style that makes you feel as good as you look. Get started today at stitchfix.com/lockedon. That's stitchfix.com/lockedon. stitchfix.com/lockedon. All right. So real quick, let's talk about the closing of this game. I thought the Blazers were excellent to get back in this game. 30-13 to open the fourth quarter. They were great. When it comes down to crunch time, you got to execute in the half court. The Blazers are a bad half court offense. Factually true, been true all year. Nothing's changed, right? They're playing down the stretch with Delano Banton, who he wasn't excellent, but he's solid in this game. He's aggressive. He's going to shoot him, but he's I thought he had a couple nice finishes in this game, and he's and hit both his threes, because I guess in a Blazers uniform he's a knockdown shooter. But I think you're playing with him and Jabari Walker and Duop Reith and DeAndre Ayton. It's not a lot of spacing. It's not a lot of passing. It's not a lot of ball handling. You've got one above average. I mean, Delano Banton, by the numbers in a Blazers uniform, is an above average shooter, but they don't treat him like that. They don't guard him like that. Duop Reith is right around league average from three. DeAndre Ayton doesn't shoot threes, and Jabari Walker's a straight up bad shooter. You're dealing with in the half court in crunch time, and I'm talking about the final 2 minutes of this game. They've come charging back and they've got to make plays. We're really talking about basically 1.5 possessions. But I thought the 2-for-1 that I explained, it shows two things. One, the Blazers get the ball back with 50 seconds left. The right thing to do is to shoot about 15 seconds into the possession. You want to get that. That is good, solid planning, right? Is to take that shot with about 15 seconds into the shot clock. But everybody knows it. And when you just give Anthony Simons the ball and say, hey, go get a shot up, he's going to get a shot up. It just might not be a quality shot. And with leaving him on an island with just Alex Caruso, it's too challenging in that type of moment. You need to, I understand they didn't want to bring a screen up for him because they didn't want to have a double team and then have to get it back to him, and then you maybe screw up the 2-for-1, you screw up the timing, right? Some of it is just okay, 15 seconds, you got to get your best offensive player, get him the ball. He's the only guy on the court who can really create a meaningful pull-up jump shot. It has to be him. But I think this is kind of one of the challenges of the Blazers offense under both personnel. I mentioned the personnel first because that's the biggest thing here. And then I think general lack of creativity from the Chauncey Billups offense is they don't have little pet plays. They don't even have little pet actions that it's I bet we'll get a pretty good look out of this one. I think they should have, as soon as they saw Dosunmu guarding Duop Reith, immediately invite Dosunmu into the dance. Immediately say, Io, you're going to guard in this pick and roll one way or another. Bring up Duop to set a screen and kick it back to him and let him shoot a jumper and live by it or die by it right there. Duop's 2 of 3 from 3, 5 of 6. I thought he got punked in the first half, but he was hooping in the fourth quarter. And if he's going to be on the court, he's your second best shooter. I think you need to get into an action early. When they didn't get into an action, it was just Ant dribbling. I didn't love it. And then late, the Bulls fouled, so it didn't matter, but everyone in the world knew it was going to Anthony Simons, and they probably would have fouled anyone else, and they might not have made the free throw, so it's better to get it in his hands. I'm not really second guessing that, but I think most of this is who's available on the team right now, who's available to play. They're no Jeremy Grant, no Shaedon Sharpe, no Malcolm Brogdon, better offensive options than who's healthy. I don't think you want to just run late game offense through Delano Banton. it's hard to run late game offense through DeAndre Ayton based on just his skill set. Like Duke can really shoot it, but like he needs a little help. He needs he needs to get set up in his spots. He's not a great passer. He doesn't attack off the dribble really. Like he's not going to take he's going to jab step and take jumpers. He's not going to cross tween step back 17-footer. It's just like not a skill set, right? And you got to play with your skill sets. And I think sort of it came up here at the end of this game. It came up like the Blazers sort of challenges and also just the general sort of vanilla-ness of the offense under Billups, the general lack of creativity on offense under Billups. I think the coaching staff is pretty creative on defense. They went to some zone defense late in this game that I think helped change up the Bulls' rhythm a lot. Bulls eventually solved it and then kind of made them go back to man, but I think the change of pace worked. I just think the offense is the number one challenge in this particular game with offense was personnel, but I think those 1.5-ish possessions, one real possession kind of it came up a little bit. The other thing I like that Billups did, as long as let's get both sides of the coin, he went big and it worked. I mean, the Bulls are one of the only teams in the league that plays two weird double center lineup with Drummond and Vucevic, and it's been decent this year. The Bulls don't get shredded in it. That's why they keep doing it. Obviously Minnesota plays really big and Cleveland plays really big, but Cleveland has gone away from it more in the latter parts of the season. After the first third of the year, they've done it a lot less, and some of it is a necessity because of injuries. But Karl Anthony Towns is just he's a different beast. It's a different thing. It's not playing Drummond and Vucevic together. But certainly that's essentially two centers to be certain. But the Blazers matched that big size and then they stuck with it when it kept working. If you're long time listener, shout out to my everydayers, you know that I've kind of hoped that the Blazers would try weird, funky stuff because why not? This is the season to try weird, funky stuff. It worked tonight in a way that has basically never worked in the past. The Blazers tried it a little bit against the Knicks the other night, and the first thing the Knicks did was give the ball to OG Anunoby, and he busted through a 4-5 pick and roll and said, neither of y'all are going to guard me off the dribble, and got a dunk. And not only does it pull both of your centers away from the rim in those situations, it also makes them slow. Have to, their lateral quickness challenges get exposed on the perimeter. It's tough against some teams, but it worked. It worked tonight, and Billups stuck with it. I thought that was fun, and I like that it works. He also, we saw a lot of that Banton, Scoot, and Anthony Simons lineup. I talked about it in yesterday's show. Again, shout out to my everydayers. If you listen to that, Banton gives the Blazers options because you can play either with him at 2, like they did to close the game, and that big lineup with Jabari Walker at the 3, or you can play a little smaller and you don't give up a ton of size, but you still have multiple ball handlers in there. The optionality of Delano Banton helps, and I thought that was nice. I thought the two different looks in the same game, you see the Blazers, they're a little light on talent, but they gave us some different looks, some creativity, and some interesting personnel groupings. Damian Lillard was in attendance tonight. Okay. First, a little context. Milwaukee is not very far from Chicago. You can drive there in under 2 hours, roughly. I don't know how fast Dame drives. Maybe it takes a little longer. Maybe he drives a little slow. But he can drive close. DeMar DeRozan is a member of the same agency as Dame. He's a Goodwin client. The Goodwins have very few clients. They've known each other a long time. They're legitimately good friends. Anthony Simons is one of Dame's good friends. He was there with Phil Beckner, who is Dame's trainer, who also trains Anthony Simons. It was, he was sitting courtside. He's also a famous NBA player, so he gets really good seats. He could have sat in worse seats, I guess, if he wanted to be slightly more anonymous. But if you're going to go, get good seats. I think it's kind of nice that he shows up for his friends. It has a real visiting your ex at work vibe. It really does seem like showing up to the restaurant that your ex is a server at and just hoping you get sat in their section. So you're like, hey, I'm doing great without you. But I don't think it's malicious. I think it's barely a story. That's why I kind of buried it in the podcast. But worth noting that he was in the gym. And I it's a nothing burger mostly, but it is a little weird. 3/4, 80% of the way through season number 1, Dame's checking in on his old pals, even though he only played with literally the only dude who played in this game who's played with them, 2 guys, Jabari and Ant, but Ant, right? He's coming to see his old friend. Let's I haven't really mentioned him. I mentioned him briefly when running down the box score. I want to say this real quick. This is a funny box score thing. Anfernee Simons had 28-9 or 28-8, whatever it was, 25-8, against the Pelicans on 50% shooting, and I thought he didn't play very well. Tonight he had 30-9 on 10 of 24 shooting, and I thought he played way better. It's like a funny box score thing. Some of it is that he missed his last 3 threes. The strip that Alex Caruso has late is a missed 3. So he takes that late clock to try to get that kind of forced tough 3 to try to get the 2-for-1. Caruso strips him on the way up. That's a missed 3. And then it takes that shot at the buzzer. So he misses the last 3 threes. He would have been 4 of 11, which is like a relatively normal shooting night. Totally fine. If he doesn't have to take like sort of forced against the clock threes. I thought he played well in this game, and he's like factually had a worse statistical night than he did a couple nights ago, where I thought he played poorly. It is a weird part about watching basketball, and sometimes I intentionally don't check the box score when I'm watching because I'm gonna read it on the show anyways. So I go off the vibes, and my vibes were that Ant played well in this game. I thought him and DA's chemistry was good. I just wanted to point that box score thing out because I said that I thought Ant didn't play well in the last game, and I kind of think he did play well in this game. And yet, okay, let's talk about Scoot. There's no uncertainty here. Scoot didn't play well in this game. There's been some talk whether Scoot Henderson is the B word, a bust. Let's talk about it. Let's use the word. Let's talk about what it means. Join me in the third segment for some realness, or at least some truths. Join me there. But first, let's talk about LinkedIn jobs. If you're hiring, you are running a small business, you're going to want to find quality professionals that are right for you and right for the job and right for the role. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. It's got the tools to help you find the right professionals for your team, and you can do it faster and for free. It's not just another job board. LinkedIn has a vast network of more than 1 billion professionals, which makes it the best place to hire. It gives you access to professionals that you're just not going to find anywhere else. And LinkedIn does all that while making the process easy and intuitive. Hiring is easy when you got that many quality candidates right there at your disposal. So easy, in fact, that 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. Plus, they're always launching new tools to make the process even easier, like a recent one they added that helps you write the job description so you can get your job out there in front of more people quicker and with the precision of the tools that LinkedIn has to make it easy for you. So post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedonnba. That's linkedin.com/lockedonnba to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. All right, still a pass first point guard. I'm still Mike Richmond, and you are still listening to Locked On Blazers. I was fortunate enough today to host a stream on the Bleacher Report app. That's a little buzz marketing. I didn't know I was going to do it. I would have mentioned it on the show, but it was offered to me. An opportunity was offered to me this morning, and I said, let's do it. So this afternoon, I spent about 20, 30 minutes chatting with Blazers fans and other fans. I'm gonna say at least one fan of the Miami Heat based on their comments. Did you know Joe Cronin didn't trade Damian Lillard to the Heat? But in that chat, in that stream, someone asked whether it was, I believe it was listener Devin. Shout out to you, listener Devin. It was someone asked like whether it was fair to label Scoot Henderson a bust. And I've seen that a little bit in other places on the internet, and I've heard whispers from my friends who are either worried or very aggressively not worried about Scoot Henderson. So I want to kind of just address that notion here to close the show. I want to say this. I'm glad Scoot Henderson was back in the starting lineup. I'm glad he played 30 minutes. He didn't play at the end of the game, but like they had a lineup that was working and they were trying to come back and win. That's fine. If he's playing 22 minutes, I might whine about it because I got a microphone where they let me whine about it. But like, if he's going to play 30 minutes and then not at the end of the game because he hasn't earned it, great. That's great. That is just coaching. That's basketball. That's how team sports work. He finished with 14 points on 4 of 17 shooting against the Bulls. He missed 13 shots and scored 14 points. Got to the free throw line. That's good to see. But 6 turnovers and just 5 assists. And after a stretch where prior to the All-Star break, where it looked like Scoot was kind of figuring it out, looked like he was piecing it together, and it was kind of like it was starting to make more sense for him and starting to the speed of the game and the physicality and where he was going to be able to score and how he's going to be able to manipulate defenses. It seemed like it was all kind of coming into focus for him. Not that he was going to be like go on this dominant run, but it was like he was having more good games than bad games and a lot of neutral games, right? He just wasn't having stinkers, like neutral night, like, hey, that was pretty good. Or like, hey, I didn't notice Scoot in a bad way. Since he's come back from that injury post All-Star break, he struggled. He really has. And I think tonight against the Bulls sort of encapsulates some of my concerns about Scoot Henderson. So let's talk about the B word first. I'm not inclined to label a 20-year-old rookie anything. Anything. I am not inclined to label them anything. I'm old enough to remember Tyreke Evans. I'm old enough to remember Michael Carter-Williams. I'm old enough to remember De'Aaron Fox. De'Aaron Fox looked terrible as a rookie. He's now like an all-NBA level talent. He's not going to make all-NBA this year or even get really sniff it. But like, you know, he's an all-NBA. He's like, you know, flirting with all-star teams and things like that. But he's terrible. But Tyreke Evans is in the opposite way. He's balling as a rookie. Michael Carter-Williams, the best game of his career was night one. Labeling any rookie early in their career is a fool's errand. I'm not inclined to label. I don't feel that compulsion. And perhaps you do. I'm not telling you how to do it. I'm saying this is Mike Richman's personal preferences here. I'm not inclined to label. But I do think Scoot's been bad this season. I think you can say that. I'm very comfortable using that B word. He hasn't been good. He's been bad. He's been bad. Has he improved? The funny part about the internet is you can find every take. I am sure you can find the take that Scoot was better to begin the season than he is now. In fact, I posted this thing on YouTube. I bet you can find it in the YouTube comments for the video. But every take is available. So I'm not saying this, no one thinks this. But anyone acting in good faith can admit that Scoot Henderson has improved from early in the season to now. But also, he hasn't been good recently. I am not compelled to label, but I am not afraid of the truth. The Bulls game looks like some of the things that worry me about Scoot. In this game, Scoot shot 2 of 11 in the paint, including 2 of 9 in the restricted area. Missed a couple pull-ups where his feet were in the paint, but in the restricted area, so below the charge circle, below the semicircle and the little hashes in the paint, 2 of 9. Couple of them just hard off the glass right-handed layups. Gets to his preferred hand. He doesn't use his left hand. There's plenty of players in the NBA that are strong hand dominant. You notice it more with lefties. You notice it more Domantas Sabonis, and you notice it more with Zach Randolph back in the day, where it's that dude's never used his right hand in his life. He'll never use it in his life. But there's plenty of guys who are favor their dominant hand pretty aggressively. I think Scoot not using his left hand is noticeable and funny, but it's not that big of a deal. The big deal is when he gets to a strong hand and smokes one. And he had a couple in this game against the Bulls where it's gets all the way in, gets to his right hand, gets to the glass, gets to his spot, and it just crushes off the glass. It comes in he's you're taking an 8-footer from 8 inches. Come on. That's you're just a touch, just totally with no calibration, right? Hard off the glass from right at the rim. 2 of 9 in the restricted area, 2 of 11 in the paint. On the year, Scoot Henderson is shooting 43% inside the restricted area. So that's below the charge circle. When you look at the paint, there's that little semicircle that's you got to be outside of that. I'm talking inside the charge circle. 43%. League average is 59.9%, but that includes guys who dunk, right? That includes the DeAndre Aytons. I guess maybe not a great example of guys who dunk. That includes the Daniel Gaffords, right? Derek Lively's, guys who only take shots right at the rim. So I went to clean the glass and it's okay, what's 43% maybe, what's that among point guards? Because the good folks at Ben Falk at Clean the Glass does it by position. According to Clean the Glass, Scoot is in the 7th percentile when it comes to finishing at the rim among point guards. Bad. He's also 79th in frequency. 79th percentile in frequency. He's an above average at getting to that spot, and he's awful at finishing when he gets there. I feel 2 ways about this. One, I think it is in some ways good news that he gets to his spots. I think it is in some ways good news that he continues to have an above average foul rates. He's both above average in drawing shooting fouls and non-shooting fouls for point guards, and that's not rookies, that's the whole position group, right? He's good at drawing fouls. He's pretty good at getting to his spots, right? 79th percentile in rim frequency among point guards. That's good. That's good. These are things that make you feel a little bit better about his game. But the missing shots there is the problem, and the decision making. Sometimes he's just going into the trees with no plan. It's not that he's playing out of control. It's that he's predetermining some reads, and in the past, maybe where he could just overpower folks, he hasn't figured out counters or hasn't figured out, like, I can't overpower folks. Here's another move. Or maybe I'll keep the dribble alive and make some passes that and try to make some reads. I thought he turned the ball over with some just poor decision-making in this game. The layups and the decision-making worry me much more than the jump shot. Obviously, the jump shot plays into it because guys go under on screens, and when you go under on screens, he's attacking with a guy who's already, gapping him 4 or 5 feet off him and saying, come on! And so then you're driving into someone's chest who's waiting for you, and then the help is also waiting, and you're just driving into more of a crowd. The jump shooting would change some of this, but the ability to get to the rim suggests that it's not, the jumper isn't holding him back from chances to attack. It's a skill thing. I think players can improve in finishing, right? Like Damian Lillard, it took him almost 5 seasons in the league to really become a good finisher, and then he was excellent at it. Dame's also a Hall of Famer. I think that might be a little high of a bar to say well, Dame did it. But players improve their finishing, right? Players improve. I think one of the big things is De'Aaron Fox, while he was bad his rookie year, he has become an elite finisher. And even as a rookie, he was better at the rim than Scoot. Noticeably better at the rim than Scoot. So here's how I feel. I think Scoot's been bad this year. And I think it doesn't change his overall ceiling, right? There is nothing about the way Scoot played that stops his chance of becoming an all-star or an all-NBA point guard. It just makes it a lot less likely, right? Your ceiling is always an unlikely outcome. Say that's a 95% outcome. That's the top 5%. Now that seems like a 98% outcome, 98.5% outcome, right? It seems like the chance to reach that ceiling to maximize your potential seems further away than it did. I don't think it changes the ultimate ceiling. It just changes the likelihood of getting to that ultimate ceiling. That's how I feel about his rookie year. I don't feel compelled to use the term bust because I know players improve, and I know that some of the things that he struggles at are things he can improve with, and I know he has some indicators that suggest he'll be okay. But I think 2 things can be true. You can be worried about Scoot in the present and hopeful about Scoot in the future. You can hold those 2 truths in your mind at the same time. I mean, maybe you can't, but I encourage you to give it a try. Because I think in reality, what you're watching is a guy struggle, and the sort of even the positive indicators I'm giving you, it's you saw him get to the rim against the Bulls and just smoke layups. It doesn't really matter if you never make them, right? So I think where I am heading into the final 15 or so games of Scoot's career is 14 by my math over here on the other screen. The final 14 games of his career, assuming he plays all of them, is that year 1 has been a disappointment. Year 1 doesn't define you. Year 1 is not the end-all be-all. But year 1, unequivocally for Scoot, has been a lot worse than I thought he would be, and probably than you thought he would be too. The chances that he ends up being okay, certainly still there for you. He certainly does some things that you can see oh yeah, if he tightens this up and does X and X and X, he can get there. But the progress you were maybe really hoping for the back half of the season has not come post All-Star break. And, maybe he's still dealing with some health stuff or whatever, but he's going to play 30 minutes. I don't think we can make excuses about his health. If you play, you need to play a little bit better. That's going to be the rule for Scoot for the rest of his career because it's the rule for everyone who plays in the league. No labels for me, only honest appraisals, which is, I think he's been bad and you wish he was better. And knowing that, I think you can say there are reasons why I think he might get there. But if you are feeling a little shaky, I think he's giving you reasons to feel a little bit shaky. Both things can be true at the same time. Tomorrow's show, we keep it rolling. I was trying to get a interview fell through, so it's probably going to be a mailbag episode. I have good mailbag questions. Doesn't mean you shouldn't send me more. LockedOnBlazersPod@gmail.com. If you're listening to this late into the program, LockedOnBlazersPod@gmail.com is a place to send me a mailbag question. Do it. Come back 5 days a week, wherever you get podcasts, also on YouTube. I appreciate you listening. I'll talk to you soon.